Well, Week 10 wrapped up last night with the Pittsburgh Steelers picking up a 16-13 overtime win over the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs almost pulling off what would have been the biggest upset in the NFL so far this season. Did not happen, though. But if you're the Steelers, last night may be an example of winning the battle but losing the war, because their Pro Bowl quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, was injured in the game. As we record this on Tuesday morning, still no official word on Roethlisberger's status, but we have heard a couple of unofficial reports, and they do not sound good. Sounds like a serious right shoulder injury, maybe a separated shoulder. Keep in mind, that's Roethlisberger's throwing arm. So if the reports are true, Roethlisberger's going to be out for an extended period of time, and that is bad news for this Pittsburgh offense. Because as anybody could plainly see, if you were watching the game last night, there's a steep drop-off from Ben Roethlisberger to Byron Leftwich. For all the nice things the commentators and analysts after the game were saying about Leftwich, saying the Steelers were lucky to have a veteran guy like him in a spot like this. Hey, Leftwich is a veteran. He is experienced, but keep in mind, this guy is a backup for a reason. This is not a young up-and-coming guy who just hasn't been given his shot yet, and now that he finally gets his opportunity, he might take it and run with it. No, this is the opposite end of the spectrum. Leftwich, a former top 10 overall pick with the Jacksonville Jaguars, was given a long look and a long leash in Jacksonville. The management there wanted him to succeed. It just did not work out. Turns out he just wasn't as good as the backup at the time, David Garrard. So the Jags shipped him off. He's been Pittsburgh's backup for the last couple of years. And last night, he certainly looked like a backup. Now, I understand that backup quarterbacks, it's tough. You're not able to practice with the first stringers throughout the week. So sometimes you're thrust into a situation in the middle of a game. You're cold. You haven't had a lot of practice time with these guys. So I get it. And I get that Byron Leftwich now, he will have practice time with those guys. So maybe he will improve. All that being said, if the Steelers' offense last night, after Leftwich came into the game, if that's what we're going to see from them throughout the rest of the season, they are going to be in big trouble. This Steelers' offense over the last couple of years has turned into a pass-first offense. They really don't run the ball very well. They've had a lot of injury problems this year at the running back position. The bread and butter of their offense is Ben Roethlisberger throwing it down the field to Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, that wide receiving core. And now that that's going to be taken away from them, what are they going to do? Todd Haley, first-year offensive coordinator, he's going to have his work cut out for him. That defense, which played so well last night after giving up a big early lead to Kansas City, or a two-score early lead anyway to Kansas City, that defense clamped down and suffocated the Chiefs, ended up winning the game in overtime. Lawrence Timmons intercepting Matt Castle to set up a chip shot, game-winning field goal. The defense is number one in the league in total defense, number one in passing defense. They're going to have to play up to those rankings over the next few weeks. And I'd be taking a long, hard look at the under in Pittsburgh games in the coming weeks, because I do not have a whole lot of faith in that Steelers offense with Byron Leftwich under center. And the Steelers have a tough game in this Week 11, a big game, the Sunday night football game. Their hated division rival Baltimore Ravens come to town. Steelers are a game behind the Ravens in the AFC North standings. And a couple of weeks ago, it appeared as though it was a foregone conclusion that the Steelers, in my opinion at least, were going to win the AFC North, because the Ravens looked like they were headed down. They were a team that was sinking with the injury problems that they've had on defense. Ray Lewis, their defensive captain, lost for the year with a triceps injury. Ladarius Webb, their best cornerback, also lost for the season. The Ravens' defense is not ranked in the top 20 in any statistical category in the NFL. That's shocking from a defense that we're used to being absolutely dominant. They're just not dominant this year. As a matter of fact, they're not even good. But their offense is good. That offense hanging 50-plus on the Oakland Raiders last week. So as we sit here now, even though the outlook was kind of bleak a couple of weeks ago for the Ravens, now after their blowout win over the Raiders, after the Steelers appeared to lose Ben Roethlisberger for a long period of time, the Steelers are really the Ravens' only challenger in the AFC North. Baltimore appears to be sitting pretty. We'll see. We'll see if they're able to go in there and beat a backup quarterback, or we think anyway. Again, official word, we haven't heard official word yet, but we think Baltimore's going to be facing a backup quarterback in Pittsburgh this week. We'll see if the Ravens are able to take care of business. The line on that game has not been released on BETDAQ, of course, because we don't know yet if Roethlisberger's starting. As soon as the announcement is made, which should be later this afternoon or tomorrow, there will be a line posted on that game. And hey, I'll be watching that game, very curious to see what's going to happen, very curious to see just how well this Steelers defense can play. I mean, can they shut down Baltimore like they have in years past? This series has been full of low-scoring games, the type of games where field goals are huge. And if the Steelers want to win this game, because of their quarterback situation, it's going to have to be a game like that, and I think their defense knows it. Really excited about that game. Still 6 days away, but the Sunday night game, Baltimore at Pittsburgh. Now, several other good games this week. Want to get to a few of them now. I want to start with the Thursday night game. Not sure you consider this a good game. But it's an interesting game. From my perspective, it's a confusing game. I'm talking about the Miami Dolphins going on the road to face the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo installed as a 1-point favorite right now on BETDAQ. 45.5 is a total. What about the Miami Dolphins? What do you make of this team? You tell me, because obviously I don't know what to make of this team. Coming into the season, like everybody else, I thought the Dolphins were going to be awful. I just did not see it. A rookie quarterback, no real proven playmakers on offense, a defense that was average last year. But through the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season, the Dolphins really proved everybody wrong. They sat at 4-3 through 7 games. I did not bet on any Dolphins game throughout the beginning part of the season, did not bet 4 or more against them. Was surprised at their play, no doubt about it, and finally jumped on their bandwagon 2 weeks ago before their game against the Indianapolis Colts. Backed them as 1-point favorites on the road in Indianapolis. Dolphins really controlled most of that game, but ended up losing. They allowed 433 passing yards to Andrew Luck. Remember, that was the game Luck set the rookie NFL passing record. But I didn't learn my lesson. I backed the Dolphins again last week, and they got blown out at home by the Tennessee Titans. I won my other 2 bets. The one bet I lost in spectacular fashion, backing Miami -6. They lost 37-3 to the Tennessee Titans coming into the game. The Titans' 3 victories had come by a combined 7 points. Their 6 losses, 5 of those games, they had been blown out. The Titans were allowing 34 points per game. That was worse than the NFL. So for the Dolphins to only muster 3 points against Tennessee at home, I don't know what to make of this Dolphins team. I do know one thing. I am staying far away from this game. Buffalo hosting the Dolphins. Again, Buffalo a 1-point favorite. And I lean towards Buffalo. So I think that means you should jump all over the Dolphins. Because when it comes to Miami this year, it seems as though my instinct is almost always wrong. So, I'm not that hard-headed. I'm staying far away from any game that involves the Miami Dolphins over the next couple of weeks. But I will watch this game on Thursday night because I want to see who the Dolphins are. Are they the team that we thought we were going to see in the beginning of the season? The team that lost 37-3 last week to the Tennessee Titans? Or are they the tough team that can stop the ball, can run the ball? The team that was 4-3 through 7 weeks? Quite frankly, I don't know. We'll see on Sunday. Defense is the Buffalo Bills' weakness. I mean, they have a terrible defense, but they're no worse than the Tennessee Titans. I mentioned Tennessee was last in the league in points allowed. They were allowing 34 points a game before their game against Miami last week, and Dolphins only scored 3 on them, so who knows what we'll see? Who knows what we'll see out of this game on Thursday night? Another game that I think is a little bit more predictable, a game that caught my eye, a game I do think I might be getting involved in, the Green Bay Packers going on the road to face the Detroit Lions. Green Bay currently installed as a 3.5-point favorite in this game on BETDAQ. No question, the Packers have not been the same team this year they have been over the last couple of seasons. I think everybody's still sort of waiting for them to wake up, and now that we're past the midpoint of the season, it appears clear that they're not going to wake up. They're just not quite as good as they were. Who knows what it is? Maybe the absence of Greg Jennings. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is not in rhythm. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the lack of a running game. Maybe that's hurt him more than a lot of people thought it would, or a lot of people thought then it hurt him last year because they didn't run the ball very well last year. So who knows what it is? Nobody can put their finger on exactly what's wrong with this Green Bay offense. It's just obvious that they're not quite the same offense they have been over the last couple of seasons. Still, I like their chances this week on the road in Detroit. A short favorite here, Green Bay, a short road favorite, 3.5 again is that number on BETDAQ. My confidence here in Green Bay stems from my lack of confidence in Detroit. I believe the Lions are still getting too much respect in the betting marketplace. Really, they have been all year. They were a good team last year, a 10-win team. A lot of people, myself included, viewed them coming into this season as an up-and-coming team. But Detroit has not been impressive in any game this season, even their 4 wins. I guess aside from a blowout victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars, which what else is new? Seems like everybody who goes into Jacksonville this season blows out the Jaguars. They did have an impressive win there, I guess. Aside from that, even their wins have been unimpressive. They lost last week a big game to the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings were without Percy Harvin, maybe their best offensive player. Apologies to Adrian Peterson. The Lions, I just think that they're just not as good as we thought they were going to be. They're not that good on defense. They're not that good on offense. Statistically, they look better than they actually are. A lot of their yardage has been piled up towards the end of the games when they've had to just sort of throw the ball all over the field. And I think Green Bay is going to go into Detroit this week and take care of business. I know it's very early in the week on Tuesday, and I never make any final calls until Friday or Saturday. But as I sit here right now, unless something changes over the course of the week, the Green Bay Packers to me look like a good bet on the road against Detroit this week. Another game that caught my eye, an NFC South game, the Tampa Bay Bucks going on the road to play Carolina. Now, Tampa is only a 1-point favorite in this game. We mentioned the Lions have possibly been getting too much respect in the betting marketplace this year. I think it's safe to say the opposite is true of the Tampa Bay Bucks. And I don't blame people. I mean, Tampa, after all, lost their last 10 games last season. They were 1-9 against the spread in those 10 games. So people were understandably hesitant to back the Bucks this season. But you know what? Over the last 3 or 4 weeks, they've shown week after week they're just a good football team. Greg Schiano has worked wonders there in his first year as coach. They have a balanced offense that has been explosive. They've scored over 30 points, I believe, 4 out of the last 5 games. Doug Martin, their rookie running back, has been a revelation. Vincent Jackson, their offseason acquisition at wide receiver, he's really opened up things for that whole offense. Opened up things for the running game, opened up things for Mike Williams, who had been the number 1 wide receiver in Tampa. He's now the number 2 wide receiver, facing a lot of single coverages, so he's had a big year. He's made things a lot easier for Josh Freeman. So this Tampa offense is rolling. I guess a lot of people feel like on the road this week against a division rival, this could be a good spot for Carolina here, but I don't know. I don't have faith in Carolina. I believe Carolina, similar to Philadelphia, is a sinking ship right now. I think they're past the point of, banding together, backs against the wall, let's pull one out. I think Carolina is past that point. I think it is now, it is a losing season. The players have all but accepted it. I'm not saying they're making their off-season plans yet, but General Manager Marty Herney has already been fired there. Ron Rivera, there's almost no chance of him being the coach here next season. Will Cam Newton be the quarterback in Carolina next season? A lot of questions surrounding this franchise. They seem to be going in the wrong direction. The Bucks seem to be playing with a lot of belief. They seem to be headed in the right direction. It's a little unusual to me. I think it's a little unusual. I understand that it's a division game and Carolina's at home, but the Bucks, they've looked more than 1 point better than the Carolina Panthers this season, and I do have an early lean towards Tampa in this game. Now, another game I just want to mention just because it was humorous to me. Humorous to me, the headline I read in the local paper here. For those of you who don't know, I am stationed here in Northeast Florida, a Jacksonville native. This studio I'm broadcasting from is in Ponte Vedra, Florida, which is in the greater Jacksonville area. So I obviously read the local paper, listen to the local radio. Well, the Jaguars, who are officially now the worst team in the league, I think, this past week we saw both of the worst teams in the NFL in prime time. On Thursday night, we saw the Jags host the Indianapolis Colts. And last night on Monday night, we saw the Kansas City Chiefs, the other candidate for worst team in the league. We saw them against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think now the vote is clear. It's clear. The Jags are the worst team in the league. They looked much worse at home against the Colts than the Chiefs did on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So taking that into consideration, when you see that Jacksonville is going on the road to play the Houston Texans this week, when you see that Houston is currently installed as a 16-point favorite on BETDAQ, you can understand why I literally laughed out loud this morning to look at the sports paper, the local sports paper, the Florida Times-Union, which is the paper here in Northeast Florida. And here's the headline. Are Jaguars catching Titans at right time? Now, I'm not even joking. Are Jaguars catching Titans at right time? 16-point home underdogs. Look, I understand the Jaguars have been good against the spread on the road this year. They have. They've been blown out in every home game, but they've been a good team to back on the road. This team has absolutely no hope, no chance of beating the Houston Texans on the road. I mean, I guess 16 is such an astronomical number, biggest number we've seen in the NFL so far this season. Second biggest number also involved the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was when they went up to Green Bay a couple of weeks ago. Even though it's an astronomical number, Houston beat the Jags 27-7 in Jacksonville early this season, and I mean, they're just going to absolutely demolish this team, aren't they? I'm trying to think of the right word to use. They're going to smother them. The defense is going to smother the Jaguars' offense. And then the Jags have been so bad on defense this year, and Houston has that good balanced offense that is going to want to be, getting some good feeling back after their game last week, that ugly 13-6 win over Chicago. Now, the elements had a lot to do with Houston's offensive struggles, but still, been a long time since the Texans have passed for less than 100 yards in a game. Arian Foster did rush for 100 yards, but took him 29 carries to get there. So Texans offense is going to be wanting to get back on track. They have the perfect opponent for it this week. And I'm sorry, I just had to relay the humorous little tidbit that the headline in the local Jacksonville paper this morning read, "Are Jaguars catching Texans at right time?" I guess they mean because the Texans are coming off that physical, hard-fought win over the Chicago Bears, and the Jaguars, I don't know how you could argue that it's the right time for the Jaguars because they've lost so many games that probability-wise they're due to win one eventually. That's about the only argument I can make. Anyway, Houston a 16-point favorite over Jacksonville this week. Bet that one how you want. Hey, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't bet the Jaguars with stolen money, so I certainly lean towards Houston in that game. Another interesting game this week, another game that certainly caught my eye, the New York Jets going on the road to face the St. Louis Rams. St. Louis installed as a 3-point favorite in this game. First time all season, by the way, the Rams have actually been a home favorite, so I'm sure, nice for St. Louis to finally be getting a little respect, because aside from the England game, aside from that game where St. Louis lost 45-7 to the Patriots overseas, the Rams have been a good, solid team this year. They've been tough. They've been in every single one of their games, aside from that New England game. I know you can't do that. You can't say, well, aside from this game. Well, I am doing that. I am doing that. The Rams have been a good home team to back 3-1 against the number at home. And the Jets appear to be a disaster, right? I mean, are the Jets going to turn it around against the Rams this week? I'm not sure. Now, I'm hesitant to outright say, oh, the Jets are unraveling. I don't put them in the same category yet that I do the Philadelphia Eagles, the Carolina Panthers, just because the Jets still have a winning record against the spread this year. Truth be told, they haven't been quite as bad as people thought they were going to be coming into the season. Not week in, week out anyway. Now, in specific games, they have been every bit that bad, like their shutout home loss against the San Francisco 49ers or their loss last week on the road in Seattle. Jets lost that game 28-7, did not score a single point on offense. Their only touchdown was a defensive touchdown. That offense, what is going on? Obviously, the big question, when will Tim Tebow start? Apparently, it's not happening this week. Rex Ryan sticking to his guns, sticking to his Mark Sanchez gives us the best chance to win. At this point, I think even Tebow detractors are saying, what do you have to lose? The Jets offense is so bad. Mark Sanchez at the very bottom of the NFL in every major statistical category in terms of quarterbacking. I'm talking about completion percentage, yards per game, touchdown to interception ratio, quarterback rating. Sanchez is 29th or worse in all of them. And we saw Tim Tebow last year take over a 1-4 Denver Broncos team, spark that team. They ended up winning the division and winning a playoff game. So your guess is as good as mine as to why Ryan hasn't turned to Tebow at this point. And now it certainly does look like the Jets just acquired him as a publicity stunt to sell tickets, because if you're not turning to him at this time, then when? I mean, I think if this were last season or the year before, I think if 50-year-old Mark Brunell, or however old Mark Brunell was, 45 years old before he finally retired, when Mark Brunell was Mark Sanchez's backup, I think if the Jets had been playing this poorly on offense, and if Sanchez had been playing this poorly, people would have been calling for Brunell. Got to slow down here. A few minutes into our preview, so we always start, stumbling over our words and stuttering a little bit. But listen, St. Louis does not have a good offense. So I know the Jets have been really struggling on offense themselves. I know there's a temptation to back the Rams at this point. A short home favorite. The Rams have been a good team to back at home. But the Jets do have a good defense. The final score last week, the Seahawks, of course, winning that game 28-7. That's not quite indicative of the way the game was played. The Jets played a little better than that defensively. The offense didn't help them out, certainly. And keep in mind, one of those touchdowns on the part of the Seattle Seahawks was scored on a trick play. So I expect the New York Jets defense to really limit this St. Louis Rams offense. The total has not yet been released on BETDAQ. That should be released over the next couple of days. You can bet it is going to be a low total. I think probably below 40. And it's hard to imagine a lot of points being scored in this game. And I'm not sure which way I'm going to lean on this game. I mean, it's tough to back the Jets right now because they could be down that same road as Philadelphia and Carolina. They could be a team that's just a losing team that's going to continue losing, but I'm not quite ready to say that about this team yet. There still might be some fight left in them, I think, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And St. Louis is so limited in offense. Really, the Rams are the poor man Seahawks. You saw the Jets lose to the Seahawks last week. Well, the Rams play the same style of football as Seattle. They stop the run. They play good defense, run stopping, and I guess a good secondary. They like to run the ball on offense. They're sort of conservative on offense. That's the same thing Seattle does. It's just the Seahawks have a better defense, and they do what the Rams try to do on offense a little better than the Rams do it. So the Jets, certainly, they weren't even competitive with Seattle last week. I expect them to put up more of a fight against St. Louis this week. We'll see as the week progresses how my feelings change about this game. As of right now, I have a sneaking suspicion the Jets might put together a good performance. As I said, we shall see, and I know it's really tough to back New York at this point, but keep an eye on this game. St. Louis at home playing the New York Jets. Big game for both teams. Both teams just hanging on at the fringes of wild card contention, so the loser of this game really will be out of it. Last game I want to mention this Week 11 that caught my eye, Indianapolis at New England. Now, Colts and Patriots being a big game in the AFC, that's nothing new. What is new is Andrew Luck. For years, this has been Manning versus Brady. Now it's Luck versus Brady, and Luck has been looking a lot like Peyton Manning this season. You got to be really impressed with the play of Andrew Luck. I think early in the year he was overshadowed a little bit by fellow rookie Robert Griffin III, but over the last couple of weeks I think people are really coming around and they're appreciating just what Andrew Luck is. New England's installed as a 9.5-point favorite in this game on BETDAQ, and for all the good things I just said about Andrew Luck, and I do believe this guy is a blue-chip quarterback, I do believe he is the guy the Colts intended him to be when they drafted him number 1 overall. I don't think the Colts stand any chance this week on the road in New England, especially because Brady, and we've heard Brady before, Tom Brady, he listens to the media. He knows what's going on. He knows what's being said. He's aware of rivalries. He's aware of the fact that he's won more Super Bowls than his rivals, for example. And so he's very aware of the fact that Andrew Luck is the latest, next big thing coming up. And I think Brady's going to want to show the world that this guy might be the next big thing, but I'm still the best quarterback in the NFL, because I don't know if you're asking my personal opinion, I don't know if Brady is still the best quarterback in the league, but a lot of evidence would back that up. New England currently number 1 in the NFL in total offense, number 1 in points scored. So Brady, he hasn't lost a step just yet, and I think we're going to see that on Sunday at home against the Indianapolis Colts. I do lean towards New England minus 9.5 in that game. Now, the Sunday night and the Monday night game, all 2 great games. We mentioned earlier Baltimore, Pittsburgh, no line yet released on that game because we don't know the status of Ben Roethlisberger. And the Monday night game, the Chicago Bears visiting the San Francisco 49ers, also no line yet released on that game because we do not know the status of Chicago quarterback Jay Cutler, who was concussed in the Bears' last game. So, hey, I'm looking forward to both those games. It'll be interesting to see what the line is on BETDAQ when they do release those lines. We do expect that to happen over the next day or two once the status of those 2 players is made a little more clear. But as always, we'll be putting up video previews of every one of these games throughout the week on BETDAQ NFL. Should be an excellent week of football. I'm really looking forward to it. We're getting down to it now. Week 11, heading towards that home stretch, heading towards the playoffs. Now is the time, best time in the sporting calendar. Not only do we have the NFL going, of course, college football winding down, NBA starting. So great time to be a sports fan, great time to be an NFL fan. Really looking forward to this Week 11.